Welcome back everyone to the French Cooking Academy. My name is Stefan and today we're going to try to demystify the story on how to cook legumes, or more precisely white beans, as you can see on that lovely picture. Now, dry beans are the beans you can see with all kinds of colors. You know, you got the kidney beans, the black beans, the white beans, and they're very popular amongst people to decorate the kitchen. So you put it in jar, maybe that looks nice in the kitchen. But the good thing is you can also eat these things, and they're actually very good. So good, in fact, that they make a massive comeback at the moment because they're full of fiber, vitamins, protein, all kinds of goodies, and knowing how to cook them is really, really vital. And they're also very easy to make. When you know how to make one of them, you can cook all of them. So it's really a useful recipe. Today we're learning the plain vanilla basic way of cooking white beans, which is first cooking the white beans, and on the side we're going to create a tomato sauce with a bit of bacon, some duck fat, some chicken stock, some tomatoes and garlic, and all this mixed together, and mix that with our beans to give some great flavors. And you end up with an easy dish and that you can make at home on a Sunday whenever you want, when you have a bit of spare time, and it's really delicious. So let's not waste time and see how we can cook these legumes. So welcome back everyone, welcome to this French cooking tutorial, and today we're going to be learning how to cook legumes, more precisely white beans. Now what you see here is the overall ingredients we're going to be using. All the details will be listed in the video description. I've got a large pan we're going to be using to cook the beans, and that is some chicken stock that you need to have beforehand. What we need to concentrate on is this one. Let's start with the beans. And now let's have a look at the beans. Now the big question everybody wonders a lot when they buy dry beans is, how do I cook these things? Because they are so hard, so dry. What you need to do always first is to rehydrate them a little bit by soaking them into a pan like that, full of water. Now the standard time, usually you have to leave them to soak overnight, and that really scares people. It's like, oh, it's way too long. Now modern techniques says that apparently 2 hours is enough to rehydrate beans, and that's going to shorten the cooking time enough. So this is what I've done. We're going to put plenty of water in one container. You put all of your beans and leave them to soak for 1 hour in cold water. Now once I've been soaking in water for 2 hours, they're ready to be cooked. Now before you cook them, you can optionally, which is what I'm doing, you can blanch the beans. Blanching is plunging the beans in a clear new water, so cold water, and you put the beans, cold water, about 5 centimeters above the beans, and you're gonna bring this to the boil and leave them to boil for a few minutes. And this is just gonna remove the impurities, just to clean them a little bit. They've been around, they've been handled by tons of people, they've been in machinery, and for me, I think it just gives that cleaner taste afterwards. So I just want to have a clean product, so for me, blanching first and cooking after. All right, so as you can see, my water is boiling now. It's been 3 minutes. I'm turning the heat off and I'm gonna rinse this into cold water. Okay, I've rinsed my beans after the blanching. Look at this, how they're beautiful. I've got the pan again with cold water, and this is when I'm gonna start the actual cooking of the beans. I'm gonna put all the beans in, bring this to boil first before adding the other flavoring ingredients. Okay, as soon as the water starts to boil like this, if you have any floating beans like this one tends to float to the surface, usually there's something wrong with them, and maybe a hole, maybe a little worm that's been in there or whatever, like there's some air inside, you just remove them. And that white foam here, also try to remove as much as you can, but because I've cleaned them before, you see it's a much better job. And now we're going to be able to add the aromatics. Now for this recipe we're going to make white beans with a tomato sauce, but I'm cooking the beans first on the side to show you exactly how the beans have to be cooked. And we're going to make the sauce on the side and then join them together. You can also do everything at once, but I wanted to show you how to cook the beans because you can use that technique for other beans. So once they start to boil like this, you can reduce your heat, and we're going to add this little half onion with the cloves, 3 cloves. So I've got 1 onion, about 1 carrot, so large pieces because that's going to cook for 1.5 hours at least. Piece of thyme, a few bay leaves in there, 1 garlic clove, up, just to give some flavors. And I'm gonna add, it's optional, a piece of the ham that I bought. It's kind of cured with plenty of pepper. And I'm going to put this gently in here, and on a gentle heat, just a kind of a simmer, I'm going to leave this to cook to about 1.5 hours. And depending on the type of beans and how you've been soaking them, it can start between 1.5 hours to 2.5, depending. We need to make sure they're cooked. So we're going to start with 1.5 hours. I'll keep an eye on them and I'll show you the result when the beans are cooked. Okay, so my beans are cooking gently, and I'm going to start to prepare my tomato sauce. I'm a bit ahead of schedule, but hey, what the heck. So a pan with a thick bottom, medium heat, and I'm going to use some leftover duck fat that I've got, because duck fat with beans is just beautiful. And so I'm going to first warm this up. My duck fat is chanting, and look what I've prepared here. A little plate of flavoring. So bay leaf, piece of thyme, little bit of shallots, a garlic clove. Okay, and here on the other side I've got the rest of the pork belly that I had. It's over here, right? And I'm gonna leave this to cook a little bit, just about like 2 or 3 minutes to release the flavor. And then I'm gonna add some tomato paste. After 3 minutes, I'm gonna add a good spoon of tomato paste and cook it in. So usually we do that to remove the excess of acidity in the tomato paste. So don't use a heat that's too high, so medium heat. After a minute or so, I'm going to add about 400 grams of tomato puree. So this is skin, so there's no skin in these. So it's nice and clean. If the heat is too high, you can reduce. You don't want a massive heat in there. And again, same thing, we're just going to warm this up just until it starts to reach a simmer. So just another 2 or 3 minutes maximum. And then we're going to add the chicken stock. Perfect, look at this, my tomato sauce starts to simmer. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to check the level of acidity by trying the sauce. Yep. All right, but a little bit too acidic. In this case, a little piece of sugar like that in the mix, and you mix it well. That's going to break off the acidity of your tomato sauce, very important. But don't overdo the sugar, it's just enough to break the acidity. Next, we're going to add the stock. I'm using here clear chicken stock, and I'm going to mix this in. And I'm going to mix this gently, and again bring it back to the simmer. Now you could use water, but you see, using water is not the same. And I've seen something online recently of someone that was writing something about the different level of quality that you find in everything you do, and it was really interesting. He was saying basically, you know what, there's really 3 levels that exist, adding a bit of black pepper. There is bad, there is good, and there is wow. Now water is going to give you a good tomato sauce. Using chicken stock or any kinds of stock, that's going to give you a tomato sauce with the wow factor. Very important. So black pepper in there, I'm reducing the heat, and that's it. We're going to leave this to simmer, leave to reduce gently. That's going to take a good 15 minutes, 20 minutes on very low heat while the beans are cooking. And that's what we're going to use after to put our beans in. It's been now a bit more than an hour, and I think my beans is, they start to break. Yeah, I think they're really almost cooked, almost done. So by the end, I'm just going to add the salt. And just salt it a little bit, leave it to cook another 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna drain them out. All right, time is up. So I'm just gonna get rid of the aromatics and the hard stuff first, all the carrots, before draining out the beans. So you remove all the garnish and you put this in another container, and then we're gonna drain out the beans. Right, so my beans are ready. But already, depending on the types of beans, the quality can be questionable. I've went in a good shop, but after just a bit more than an hour, they start to break together. Happily, for the preparation we have, it's not a big deal, but always be aware of all of that. So I've got my tomato sauce here, and I've cut the piece of meat that was cooking with my beans, and I'm gonna add this to the sauce. And if you want, you can add the other garnish, the carrot and the onion. I didn't do it because they were really soggy. I don't think there was not much nutrition value. But the next thing is basically to take all the beans and just put them in. Look at this color. So once your beans are in, even though they're a bit broken, it still has that kind of farmhouse look. And I'm gonna add a little bit of more pepper because I didn't put too much, and a bit of salt in the final preparation, as well as a hint of parsley for the color. And that's gonna give that kind of freshness taste. We're just gonna cook them for 10 minutes in the sauce, and basically that's it. They're ready to be served. It's that simple. That's it. 10 minutes have passed. The temperature is right. It is time to dig in. And even though the beans are not the best quality because they've broken up, I should have checked the shop with the provenance. That's what can happen. But look at these pieces of meat, and oh, just a few beans in there. I'm gonna try that out. It's hot. It's hot, but it's good. Oh, the taste of that, you know, that the duck fat we put, plus that kind of meat like the pork belly and the stock in there, that chicken stock with the beans. It's the ultimate comfort food. I mean, you can have this with eggs, you can leave it on simmer, you can eat it the next day. It's an absolutely beautiful recipe. I actually can't believe I haven't cooked these again sooner. And that's really joined to the idea from the beginning that, you know, dry beans and legumes are great to do at home. They don't take too much time, or at least they're not difficult, and they really taste great. But that's it, that completes the video tutorial of the day. Guys, if you've been watching till the end, thank you very much. Just remember the cooking time of the beans, very important, and can vary from 1 hour 15 minutes to 2 hours. Plus the beans have to be soaked in water beforehand. And these are the two key things. For the rest, you can use this recipe or other recipe, and you'll be able to cook, you know, kidney beans, these beans, or black beans, or other beans, and try to use that recipe. And let me know in the comments below, or Instagram hashtag French Cook Academy, how you went, if you like the recipe, or if you got maybe another recipe to share. You know, who knows? You can also follow me on Facebook if you want, or become a patron on my Patreon page. And there's more and more of you. It really helps me and to keep going, especially in those times with YouTube. It can be a bit tough. So don't forget that supporting the channel is really a great thing to do. As for me, I'll leave you again with this beautiful recipe. Next time, we'll do another simple recipe, and I think we may use some lamb, a little fricassee of lamb that I'll discover with you next time. So don't forget to join me, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.